Happy Independence Day, and thank you for joining the show that highlights the news making headlines in the land of the brave and beyond, ranging from current affairs to community stories, sports and economic news. In the news today, Member of Parliament Inna Hengari, EFF Commissar Amushelelo and activist Dimbulukeni Nauyoma arrested in relation to unemployment protest. Supreme Court overturns High Court ruling which granted citizenship to the son of Namibian same-sex couple, and food security hangs in the balance. I am Ashwin Berry and this is NMH at 1. Namibia today commemorates 33 years of independence, and a celebration is being hosted in Oneuptwo in the Omusati region at the Oneuptwo Cultural Center. Dignitaries, including the founding president, Dr. Sam Nauyoma, are present at the event, where Head of State Dr. Hage Geingob is the keynote speaker. Minister of Information, Communication and Technology, Amushelelo, earlier today shared this message of what Independence Day means to the Namibian people.
Yes, what Independence Day means to all Namibians, it means it is a day when we look back to where we came from, what we have achieved, establishing our sovereign republic, what we have achieved after establishing our sovereign republic in terms of socio-economic development, advances that we have made in the country, in terms of the achievements made in the political affairs, democracy, good governance, human rights, and it means it is a day that unites us as all Namibians from all walks of life as we forge ahead, bearing the torch of nation building.
Economic freedom fighters Commissar Amushelelo alongside activist Dimbulukeni Nauyoma were this morning arrested in relation to the unemployment protest which took place today, but was called off shortly after it commenced. The High Court had declared the demonstration illegal and in contempt of court. Commerce Region Crime Coordinator Crispin Mubebo had given the protesters 5 minutes to disperse, stating that they will suffer the consequences if they do not. The arrest was confirmed by their lawyer Kadila Momo on social media. Now, Popular Democratic Movement and parliamentarian Inna Hengari has also been arrested in relation to the protest. Remember to engage with these stories on our social media throughout the broadcast. Visual news coming up after the break.
Active Kids is an initiative under the MyZone brand that aims to provide exciting and easy activities and fun stories. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na. Active Kids, where we actively invest in your future.
Early this morning, on Namibia's 33rd Independence Day anniversary, young people took to the streets to protest the unemployment crisis in the country, with many stating that they have graduated, some with international accolades, but have not managed to secure employment. The protest, led by Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters Commissar Amushelelo, has attracted youth employed and unemployed alike, with familiar faces including parliamentarian Inna Hengari, Big Brother Africa Season 8 winner Dilish Matthews, and lawyer Kadila Amomo joining the protest. This footage was taken prior to the arrest of this morning and the crowd dispersing. Jemima Bierkus reports.
Are you a graduate? Are you a student? What are you? So you graduated. When did you graduate?
I graduated 2021.
2021. Until now, no job.
Until now, no job.
And you, good morning, my sister.
Morning.
Why did you join the protest?
I want to secure my future.
Are you unemployed?
No, I'm a student, but for the future when I graduate, I want to make sure that there are job opportunities.
Thank you. Morning, my brothers.
Oh, how's it, my guy?
Why did you guys join the protest?
I was unemployed.
Unemployment.
For me, I went abroad, studied civil engineering there, but there's no job right now. It's home. No for me.
You're a civil engineer.
Yeah, bro.
But they have building
They are
that.
building swapos. You see, they're
Yeah.
enjoying the independence. For 33 years, they're enjoying that.
So you're not part of that.
I'm not part of that project. Seriously, no job.
And you, my brother?
Me, I want to create jobs for my brother here, my guys, for my business. So I want government support. Huh? The government is not supporting us, the business owners.
We have kids, bro. Honestly, we need to do something.
Why did you join the protest?
Come again?
Why did you join the protest?
We are tired.
Society wants things to change. Namibia, 32 years old. Right now, people are suffering here. Which God created all these resources for all mankind to live on it and benefit out of it. Why is it only some of them people eat and some of them don't benefit? Why? Where is the fairness in this world? In Namibia, where is the fairness?
What is in
And there is
God
corruption.
create all the
also.
resources for all.
There
to
is
survive
too
and
much
benefit and
corruption.
enjoy.
There is
Why
too
is
much
it only some
corruption
people?
because in order for you to get a job or wanting a job, you need to know someone in order for you to go somewhere or to be in a job. And they promise us empty promises. Vote for Namibia, vote for Namibia, vote for who, for what, but never, that never happens. It never happens for these 33 years that you're living in Namibia.
Have you graduated? Have you studied?
Yes.
You graduated. What did you do?
Criminal justice.
Say again.
Criminal justice and correctional management
And for how long have you been out of a job?
for a year now.
Okay.
Deputy Minister and Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, says that there's a perception created that the government is not doing anything. She said that this perception is created by lack of information. Nandi-Ndaitwah was speaking at the recent fundraising gala dinner at Ondangwa. In the same vein, the Minister of Rural and Urban Development, Erastus Utoni, commended Ondangwa Town Council on the initiative. Enzo Amwele was there.
We don't know maybe how to share information as what we have learned this evening from our director of ceremony as to what the government has been doing since 2016 in trying to revive our economy is something that all of us need to know. Because a perception has been created that the government is not doing anything. And unfortunately, due to lack of information, that could be the outcome. Because if people are not aware of those programs as elaborated today, they will not make use of them. And they will say nothing is happening. Therefore, it's encouraging to note that with the help of the government, businessmen and women have begun to pick up the pieces in an effort to recover from the impact of the COVID pandemic. His Excellency Dr. Hage Godfrey Denko, President of the Republic of Namibia, has declared 2023 as the year of revival. This is most evident in the business community as we are witnessing countrywide that some business enterprises have started operating again. They are beginning to employ staff and dreaming to expand their operation. And the most evident of all is the tourism industry. In the past weeks, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation had a hard time to get space in hotels for the Joint Commission of Cooperation we have been hosting, maybe you have been following in the media, recently in Namibia and Oneuptwo. And this is because most hotels in Namibia, at most of the times, they were fully booked. This is a good thing. Every time when I travel in the country and I want to book in a hotel and I'm told we are fully booked, I must tell you I'm happy as a citizen. I don't get disappointed.
Our event, as last held in 2019, was picking up momentum since 2016, as per the statistic that indicated an increase in both visitors and total visitors until it was temporarily suspended due to COVID-19 pandemic. Director of ceremonies, this particular evening, I believe, it's not about speech making, but a social evening that Council would like to use in order to appeal to us as a nation, as residents, business personalities, friends, and families to form part of a vision of an Upper Council set before us this evening. And this is what the pastor said. The Namibian Council just invited us for one reason, and it's to make money. Yes.
The Supreme Court of Namibia overturned a High Court ruling which granted citizenship to the son of Guillermo Delgado and Namibian citizen Philip Lowe. The couple's legal counsel, Uno Kashipuka, shared the party's dismay.
So the court set aside the High Court judgment and order and made an order that not awarding costs, not in the High Court as well as in the appeal. So essentially, this raises the question, okay, so what's now?
Sorry, just to interrupt. What
Okay.
is the High Court order? Can you just remind
The High Court had declared the child a Namibian citizen and had directed the Home Affairs to issue a citizenship certificate. So when we look at the judgment very quickly, it seems that the Supreme Court has gone with the argument that government made at the hearing. It wasn't provided, it wasn't contained in the notice of appeal or in the heads of argument, to say, well, you should have registered the birth in terms of the section. But if you look at the section, you can either register the birth in certain circumstances, or you can apply to register the child as a citizen by descent and obtain a certificate of citizenship. So, I mean, this is unfortunate if you look at the fact that they thought the matter important enough to convene a full bench of the Supreme Court. And at the end of the day, they're running with a technical point that was not properly raised, in my opinion. It doesn't make any sense if you read the section clearly, and the entire full bench goes along with it. So essentially, on a practical level, it would mean that Philip would have to register the birth, which of course we know what Home Affairs is going to do. They're going to reject any attempt at registration, because the one thing that can be said for Home Affairs is they've been consistent in the harassment of this family. So they would have to do that, register. Home Affairs declines, you go to the High Court finds in their favor because they've done so before, you come to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court would still have to determine the merits of the matter. So all they've done is push the can or kick the can down the road to live to, I don't know, consider these things in another day. But in my opinion, it's very unfortunate and not the sort of thing we expect to see from our Supreme Court. This was the time to deal with the merits, and they chose not to. For a second time, they chose not to.
But what has to happen now is, do I understand it correctly, is that the birth has to be registered with Home Affairs?
Yes.
And then we would have to see what Home Affairs does with
We know what Home Affairs will do with that. We know. They've been consistent in their harassment.
Food security hangs in the balance as cumulative rains for the season indicate below normal. This story coming up in economic news.
The Agenda is a weekly national affairs interview program hosted every Sunday by Namibian Sun editor Toyvon Jabela, featuring a panel of high-profile newsmakers, analysts, and experts. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact agenda@synergy.com.na. The Agenda, focused on today's conversation.
While expectations for an above-normal rainy season indicated that food security would improve, this may hang in the balance as cumulative rains for the season currently indicate that they are below normal. Food insecurity in Namibia has been predicted to improve between April and August this year, with about 239,000 people, or 9% of the population, experiencing high levels of acute food insecurity. However, these expectations were based on the fact that Namibia would receive normal to above-normal rainfall, which had been forecasted for the 2022-23 rainfall season, and that households would be able to consume food from their production, signifying the start of the 2023-2024 consumption period. This is the past harvest period in Namibia, and prices are expected to decline considerably as the impacts of the conflict in Ukraine ease, and above normal crop production in South Africa is also expected. Now, this is according to the Namibia Integrated Food Security Phase Classification Acute Food Insecurity Analysis Report from September 2022 to August 2023. However, Agribank has said poor rainfall performance and food prices threaten food security, particularly in the most vulnerable households. Let's have a look at the economic indicators. One British pound will cost 22 Namibian dollars and 76 cents, while $1 will now cost 80 Namibian dollars and 56 cents. Lesego Holdings stock prices are up by 4.2% on the NSX, the only movement as other prices remain unchanged. Local index is up by 0.12%, while the overall index has closed on 2.26%. And looking at commodities, Brent crude oil and zinc prices have dropped, while all other commodities rose in price. More than 550 people were arrested during the EFF national shutdown protest in South Africa yesterday. Stay with NMH at 1 for this update.
Africa Good Morning is a current affairs program that brings you the latest from Southern Africa and beyond. News, economics, sport, weather, interviews, and so much more. For any advertising or news-related queries, contact agm@synergy.com.na. Africa Good Morning, bringing Africa to you.
Heading into news stemming from the African continent, more than 550 people were arrested during the EFF national shutdown protest yesterday. Police spokesperson Brigadier Atienda Mate said those arrested faced charges such as public violence, intimidation, damage to critical infrastructure, theft, and attempted looting. The arrest resulted from integrated law enforcement deployments, and law enforcement agencies were supported by the Defense Force, private security groups, community policing firms, and neighborhood watches, Mate added. Senegal's president has rejected claims that it would be unconstitutional for him to seek a controversial third mandate. Macky Sall's comments in an interview with the French magazine L'Express are likely to fuel an already tense political climate. The constitution in Senegal was amended in 2016 to shorten a presidential term from 7 to 5 years. It states that no one can serve more than 2 consecutive terms, which the opposition says clearly prevents Mr. Sall from running in the next year's election. Critics of Mr. Sall accuse his government of using the courts to sideline the opposition politician Ousmane Sonko. Mr. Sonko is currently facing 2 court cases that could threaten his eligibility for the election. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he gives a priority to relations with African countries as he looks for international partners in the face of Western sanctions over the invasion of Ukraine. I want to emphasize that our country has always given and will continue to give priority to cooperation with African states, Mr. Putin said on Monday at a conference on Russian-African relations in Moscow. He said Russia will supply foods to needy countries in Africa free of charge if an agreement on Ukrainian grain exports is not renewed. We are ready to supply the whole volume sent during the past time to African countries, particularly requiring it from Russia free of charge to these countries, he said. According to the Russian news agency TASS, he said Russia will share its technologies with African nations and continue helping them produce electricity. Russia has been expanding its influence in Africa in recent years, and Mr. Putin said he believes the continent will continue increasing its authority and role in the emerging multipolar world order. We'll be heading into international news soon. Now, back to Russia, as the top investigative body has opened a criminal case against the International Criminal Court prosecutor and judges who issued an arrest warrant for President Vladimir Putin on war crimes charges. The move was announced on Monday by the State Investigative Committee in other gesture of Russian defiance, 3 days after the ICC accused Putin and his children's commissioner Maria Lvova-Belova of the war crime of deporting children from Ukraine to Russia. Now, a day after being accused, Putin made a surprise visit to the Russian-occupied Ukrainian city of Mariupol, the scene of some of the worst devastation of his year-old invasion of Ukraine. The committee said there were no grounds for criminal liability on Putin's part, and heads of state enjoyed absolute immunity under the 1973 United Nations Convention. The criminal prosecution is obviously illegal since there are no grounds for criminal liability, the Russian statement said. Now, we'll be starting off with the new MTC Namibia Netball Premier League as we head into local sport shortly.
Indeed, in June 2004, in my capacity as the head of state, I launched Namibia Vision 2030 and emphasized the need to be clear about where we are, where we wanted to go, and over what time frame. Thus, this vision is still valid and achievable in the remaining 7 years if we work hard and remain united as I believe that a people united striving to achieve a common good for all members of the society will always emerge victorious.
Heading into local sport, the new MTC Namibia Netball Premier League season will get underway at Oshwarongo this weekend, with Netball Namibia forecasting a thrilling battle for honours. The 12-team Premier Division launched its new campaign in Windhoek on Friday amid little fanfare, but that is no indicator of how the action will go, says Netball Namibia President Rebecca Gohoses. She says the players are keen to put on a show in the final year of the 3-year sponsorship deal from title sponsor MTC. Such a showing will greatly aid their bid to attract an extension from MTC and more investors, she says. Now, the Mpungu constituency will host the 3rd Kavango West Governors Cup this weekend. All 8 constituencies from the region will be in action when the cup kicks off on Thursday, concluding on Saturday. The competition is the brainchild of the Kavango West Regional Governor Serka Ausiku in collaboration with the Kavango West Regional Football Committee. The 2023 edition will be the tournament's 3rd showing after it was called off in 2019 due to a lack of sponsors, followed by a 2-year hiatus due to COVID-19. We'll be heading into the international sports shortly. A man who attacked Sevilla goalkeeper Marko Dimitrovic during PSV Eindhoven's Europa League match last month has been banned from entering the club's Philips Stadium for the next 40 years, the Dutch side said on Monday. The match in Eindhoven was halted during the closing stages after a supporter ran to the pitch and assaulted Dimitrovic, punching him in the face before being wrestled to the ground by the Serbian goalkeeper. The 20-year-old supporter was handed a 3-month prison sentence with 1 month suspended by the East Brabant District Court. The man was already serving a national stadium ban until 2026 imposed by the Dutch Football Association, but PSV said he had entered the ground with a ticket bought by a friend. Fulham striker Alexander Mitrovic is facing a lengthy ban after the Football Association said the standard punishment for his dismissal during their 3-1 FA Cup quarter-final defeat by Manchester United would be clearly insufficient. Fulham coach Marco Silva was also charged by the FA on Monday. During the second half of Sunday's tie, a confrontation broke out after Fulham's Willian was red-carded for handling the ball in the box following a VAR review. Now, during a chaotic few minutes, coach Silva angrily addressed the fourth official before being shown a red card. Serbian forward Mitrovic was also red-carded after confronting referee Chris Kavanagh and shoving him with his shoulder. If you're just joining NMH at 1, we'll get into the highlights from today's broadcast after this short break.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact B7 at synergy.com.na.
Flex is your health and fitness show that focuses on the health of the mind, body and spirit. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and Oneuptwo.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Allgemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
Heading into the highlights from this afternoon's broadcast, Member of Parliament Inna Hengari, economic freedom fighters Commissar Michael Saddam Amushelelo and activist Dimbulukeni Nauyoma were this morning arrested in relation to the unemployment protest which took place today. Russia's top investigative body has opened a criminal case against the International Criminal Court prosecutor and judges who issued an arrest warrant for President Vladimir Putin on war crimes charges. The new MTC Namibia Netball Premier League season will get underway at Oshwarongo this weekend, with Netball Namibia forecasting a thrilling battle for honors. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa and the world, ranging from current affairs to economic news, sports and international headlines. It's goodbye from us in studio. Happy 33rd Independence Day, Namibia.